Hey Jill, how's it going?
It's going. How are you?
Good, good. Except for this weather, though. This weather has been really crazy within the past couple of weeks.
Oh, it's been nuts. I agree.
Yes. You and I, we've done a couple of vendor markets trying to get actually people more interested within the shows, which is pretty good.
Sit back underneath this wonderful show of Divine Oracle podcast that can be found right here underneath Podbean with your hosts, Psychic Me, Chris and Jillian. At times, so that they will be having special guests coming to you, talking about their own spiritual journeys and where you can find them.
Yeah, we have a medium today. Her name is Kelsey, Lynne. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to being here. Appreciate it.
Yes. We do say thank you very much for responding to all the emails that I've been sending out. I know that we've been doing a little bit tag, but yes, it's great to have you here. We're just going to get started, and we're going to ask, when did you get started, and how has your journey been ever since you've been started?
I don't think anyone comes from this with the normal experience, right? So it's been an interesting turn of events. You know, I had experienced a lot of different things like my younger years, and a lot of, issues or things kind of coming from being an empath and how the information is drawn to you. It can change, it can adapt, it can evolve, right? So I think in my earlier years, it was a lot of channeling things that I didn't really understand, and maybe feelings, emotions, or whatever. And it progressed over the years. And the more I took to understanding myself outside of being a medium and really on this recognition of the soul is where it all started to really grow and change and evolve in a way that was really meaningful. And it really showed me that there is more to life than what we see. And I think that's a really important sentiment for everybody who is discovering themselves, is that it's not maybe as easy as 1, 2, 3 as we like to think it is. And the more I responded to this part of me, the more I saw and the more I experienced and the more evidence that came out. And so it was a really interesting progression. Then I took to my business a few years ago, and that happened more organically. The more that I chose to spoke out and speak to people that, in my life, and started to channel for them, the more the business kind of happened organically, because you're doing authentic and, advantageous and correct readings for people, and they start sending you to others, and people kind of come to you. So in that degree, my business really happened organically. And so I've allowed that to adapt and grow to where I feel like people need, and maybe different style of offerings based on the responses. And so it's been a really, really fun and cool progression. And I'm honored to really be on this journey.
Well, would you say welcome? I know for us, actually, as spiritual mediums, though, and empaths and all that, it's always a long journey. We always keep on learning each day. So do you say welcome? What was the first time, though, that you started noticing, though, that you were more in tune?
I believe I started to notice some things when I was in my early 20s to late teens. That's when I really started to change how I saw. I don't know how else to describe that other than you start to see things that maybe don't line up with human nature.
Okay.
Then it was a large progression of second guessing myself and misunderstanding things. And then throughout my early 20s to mid 20s, I would sometimes be getting and receiving insight and not really acknowledging that I was channeling. And so that was left me with like a lot of question marks. Then as I got into my later 20s, and I really opened this door to myself and my soul, and I started to experiencing things louder and clearer than I had ever before. And I couldn't really ignore it and shove it to the side. And that's what brought me to talking to, the first person I told was like a psychologist. And I was like, am I losing my mind? Do I have a brain tumor, or is this something that's really happening? And I gave her 2-hour long reading. She's like, why don't you just try? And I was hesitant because I was like, I don't really know how to do this. But I launched into a 2-hour session with her that was extremely accurate, building her family tree, how people died, what they experienced in their lives, things that she was experiencing in her life, in her health, describing, and I described an object left by her great-grandmother, left to her grandmother, and everything was correct. And that's when I was like, okay, this is real. And I started to share with people, close loved ones and friends and my family. Luckily, I know a lot of people don't have that, and my family was really supportive.
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's good though. To actually have a family like support, because I know some families though, once we actually spiritual mediums come out to the family, some of the families like turn their backs right away.
Yep.
So
I've met a lot of people on this journey who are practicing, and they did get a lot of that. And I feel for people, because that's one of the things that I think scared me. Right? You're like, how do I come out and talk about this? But if you push it away and you push it inside, something else starts to come into a challenge. Right? You don't know yourself. Not allowing something that's so prevalent in response to the soul. You're just shoving it. You lose a part of yourself.
Yeah, so true. Well, we're taking a look actually at your website though, and it says so that you're Reiki master, your life basically coach, like guardian, and also that you do mediumship. Can you sort of elaborate on those by any chance for Jill and myself?
Yeah, I would say it started with the door of being a medium, connecting people with loved ones. Then comes the energy work. I started seeing and embodying and, I guess, hearing people's chakras and what was stuffed in them and these certain blockages. And I just noticed myself shift to this innate understanding of where things need to go and how things needed to be exchanged. And frankly, that scared the shit out of me. But it was all of a sudden you're embodying this part of you that seems to know exactly what to do and where things need to go. And you're like, man, I was never taught this. What's going on? And then it works. And you seem to know. I knew nothing about the chakras. I didn't even really know that they existed. And then you start to, some part of you has this deep understanding of them. And so that part kind of alarmed me. I was like, I must be smoking peyote.
Yeah.
And that's when, through that, I developed my own fashion of energy work. But where I decided to go into to the Reiki certifications, I wanted to be able to bring energy work more public, be able to launch it more in facilities. So there's things about the traditional Reiki progression that I take in my areas, in my modalities, because I'm sensing different areas need to be shifted in a new way, So, but I wanted to be able to take this, you can work in the hospitals, you know what I mean? It's more normalized, and there's so much backed by science in this long-standing tradition, and it's beautiful in its own right, in its own standing. So I decided to launch into that. And then the life guidance, I am in part, offering people progression on their future and how to achieve their goals and what needs to be left and what's still unsettled and blocking them from going there. And I have people all the time that are I don't necessarily want to connect with a loved one because I don't feel really tied to someone who's passed. You know what I mean? They have maybe lots of grandparents, but they're I want to know what I need to do for myself. I'm confused about where to go, and I really can use some insight. And so that's what brought on okay, I really should take a separate channel, because I think people were deterred from coming if they're well, what happens if I don't really want to specifically hear from my loved one? You know what I mean? I don't really need that. I need to know what I need to do for myself. And so that's where that bucket came. But I would say a lot of the time, when I do readings, whatever style, there's overlap. You know what I mean? So you can speak to a loved one and you can be in the grieving process, but they have a lot to say about you. They have a lot to say about what you've seen, where you need to go, what you need to shut off. And so there's a lot of overlap too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, both Jillian and myself, we both understand, especially right when like Jillian's lost one of her parents. I lost both my parents 2 years ago. So yeah, we both understand what you're meaning about that.
So from what I'm hearing is that you're a self-taught person. Have you considered taking any courses to fine-tune what you're doing?
Yeah, I my style hasn't really wanted to take me into the classroom. I have worked with another medium that's been in business for many, many years. I believe it's been like 25 years. His name is Phil Quinn. So I connected to him. He's actually around from the area that I grew up working there. And that helped me understand myself more. You know what I mean? You're getting insight, and then as you grow, you start to experience new techniques or new understanding of the messages that are coming in. So it really, really helped me understand and begin a fascination into some of the workings of myself in a new way. You know what I mean? And that was really awesome to be able to have that, you know? So I haven't made it into a classroom, you know what I mean, in that regard. And I'm not, I know other people that have developed that way. And so I'm, you know, all in support. Hasn't called to me in that way, but I enjoyed having the mentorship and being able to meet other mediums and other guides and learn from them. And I always think no matter how long you've been going and no matter where you go, to always keep the channel open as a student, because the day we stop listening is the day we stop growing, right?
So your classroom is more the social aspect than the sitting down learning on paper, basically.
Yeah. And then I would put myself through my own, I guess, series where I kind of through talking to higher self and through channel, I would get like a plan. Meditate, go in 3 times a day for the next month. Talk about what you're seeing in this series and in this energy and in this layer. And like, I get journal prompts that are very specific and voicing the action of other different layers. So in a way, I kind of got provided my own sequence of events. So I stay true to that. And there's times where I might lessen that. And then there's times where I maybe want to pick it back up. I'm in one right now. I'm in a pick it back up right now. So
does any of the spiritual mediumship follow with any of your past family genes, though? Because I know for myself, though, being a spiritual medium, my great grandmother, though, that walks with me, she was a spiritual medium. So it does follow within. Just wondering about you.
Yeah, I feel like that's very common. It's very common. So my grandmother on my mom's side, she would talk about my grandmother being psychic and really being a medium, but not, I don't think she was practicing. And then I found out that my mom's cousin is also has that channel, and now in retirement has been exploring it more. And she said the same thing as me. I'm like, are you doing readings? She goes, well, you know, I started and then I put a pause on it because you really have to be really centered. And I'm like, I did the same thing. I started rolling off. I was doing readings for people, not as much in like a business storefront. And then I paused it and I'm like, okay, I need to get to know myself a little bit more in this area and really recenter, because then it starts to move from a reach where you're feeling like you have to you have to kind of really reach for this connection to come clear. And the more you work to center and integrate, I think that's a really big word for me, is integrate, then you can do it so fast, right? And then you can just sit down in a seat, because I don't know if you guys have done events, you get to sit down in the morning after buzzing around, and then you got to get your ass in the seat, and then someone's going to walk by and you have to be and they're like, what do you see about me? You know what I mean? And you have to turn it on.
Yeah.
And that, it helps and allows that channel to grow so it doesn't feel like it's 5 miles away.
No, what you were saying about people walking by, I find that sometimes there are vampires actually out there. And it's gosh, our energy is so up high and then all of a sudden it crashes. And I bet that has happened to you quite a bit.
Yes, absolutely. It does. And it starts to bleed if you start to get in to the nitty and gritty, and then you also getting fatigued. It starts to bleed off. And you might not be realizing that it's bleeding, that it's doing it until it starts to happen. And you might even be in the middle of a session. And then and then it starts to kind of zone out. So I think it's also our responsibility to recognize when that's going down, setting the boundary and being like, you know what, I think I need to channel my own self for like a few minutes and take a break and maybe revisit that person, because people, it's hard working with the public too. They're like, why are you not, like, maybe you're like 95% right, but then like that 5% that you're misguiding me on, it's pissing, you know what I mean? They start to give you like flag back and you're like, whoa, okay, I'm sorry. I've been doing this for 5 hours and things are starting to bleed. And so I think it's our responsibility to be like, okay, maybe I need to step back and really just like settle and we can come back to this.
Yeah. I know for myself, just recently I did a spiritual witches market. And I had nobody come to the table for readings for me. I was the only male that was there. And I was like, okay. So I started playing with the cards with myself, like just started doing readings. Right. But people came to Jillian and my husband because they were selling merchandise. But just going back to your website, though, I noticed that you do Reiki. What type of Reiki do you do, since there's so many different types of Reiki out there?
Yeah, so I was taught under the Holy Fire and like the UCI, so that's where I have been brought into, and I definitely align with it. But, I'm open to, in the future, learning more and like opening up other channels within it, because I just think that, like I said, the more you learn, I'm a big proponent of it doesn't need to stay, I don't know, like in the word of integration, bringing in multiple modalities, right? That's what makes people unique. And I think that's what makes people have a better experience. And it can be more tangible to what they need if you can bring in multiple facets.
So, moving on with everything that you've been doing, have you considered opening a storefront or doing more events or getting more involved? Like, which direction are you looking at going?
Yeah, so I definitely strongly considered moving into a storefront too. I do a lot of virtual. I take people in person, so I do kind of a lot. I like to round off events throughout the year and really sink into them. I had to take a step back. I had multiple operations over the winter, and so it's like you're trying to move forward and then you're trying to take a step back. So I'm also trying to begin my own podcast, and I keep getting, just life kind of keeps standing in the way of that. So I'm like, okay, it's obviously not quite the right season yet, but I'm looking forward to doing more events over the summer. They kind of start to come out, at least around here, as the weather warms up. So I'll be popping around in them. I would like to, in the long run, open up a storefront. I'm also a Pilates and yoga instructor too. So in the long run, I can like find my perfect world. I'm like storefront, fitness studio, and then having like a wellness in area that, even bringing in like an acupuncturist. So you kind of have all of these areas brought into one place. So I think before I'm in a place where I can do all of it, I do want to continue to do things and work on the back end to build up to really where I want to go. You know what I mean? So that's where I see it in the long run. But podcast is probably my next tick off. I just have needed to let some of the dust settle. Again, everything keeps getting in the way. It was funny. Like 1 week, not even that long ago, I was like, all right, this is the week. I'm doing it. And then I was sick for like 2 weeks and I lost my voice. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Divine intervention. Obviously, it's not the time yet.
Yeah. No, we hear you 100%, because I've been fighting a allergy cold for the past couple months.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah, so you get it.
Yeah. Well, where do you see yourself going within the future, though? Like you were saying about kind of like opening up a storefront and all that, but where do you see yourself more or less going within the future?
I would love to do more on, I one of the premonitions that I keep receiving, and I was like leaning into this door in one degree, but like something keeps pushing me to like presence on talk shows, you know what I mean? Having fun with some reality situation, you know, talking about mediumship. I would love to be able to do that and to connect with people there and show them like what mediumship really is and what really can do, because I think there's so much misunderstanding. I also feel like there's, you know, you get it in the industry. There's also a lot of people that take advantage of people in distress. And I would really like to be able to show and work with other mediums, like work with other spiritualists to show like what this can really bring to people and like how much relief people see and how life-changing it can be for people to experience that there's something more, being able to let go of the grief and the strains that they have tethered to them and really release it. And I think that the more we can do as a community for exposure and do it the right way, I think it can really change minds, you know? And you can get, I always invite talks, I always invite speaking to skeptics. You get them at more at events, right? Because, you know, they're just passing by. And then when they sit down and they go through the experience themselves and they're like, what the fuck? Like, right? How did you know this? And you're diving into details about these people that were so close. You're talking about my memories, and it just establishes this connection and like a sign of hope that there's more to the story than behind closed doors, right? There's more to the story than what we know, see and hear maybe on this plane. And it's inspiring.
For your readings, though, are you doing more or less actually elevation readings, or are you using actually card readings?
I'm really doing elevation readings, so I don't use cards. If I own a deck, I don't know them very well. You know what I mean? Because I felt like when I was using them, it would just... The audience for me was stronger, you know what I mean? So you're getting like the sentences delivered and like you're hearing it and they can go so fast already, you know what I mean? You're like, it almost seemed like the cards would be distracting me from what I'm hearing and what I'm being exposed to. And they always have like a journey of like where it needs to go. And it's interesting how certain people come in to give you certain feedback and it usually aligns with their experience in life. Like grandpa was a banker, so grandpa wants to talk to you about how you need to fix your finances, you know what I mean? And so I just use that relationship, and it's been so loud for me that I'm like, I haven't wanted to deter from the cards. I like to do cards on myself a little bit sometimes. Yeah. It's easier to do other people, because then when you're in your own head, you're hearing strategies, but then you're intoxicating with your own empathic feelings. So it stirs, you know what I mean? It stirs. So sometimes I can use them, I would say, with the relationship, with where I need to go, and if I needed if I needed clarification, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is like kind of muddled, and clearing it out. But the funny thing is still when I pull cards and I have a serious question or something that I'm trying to work through, it's like I have pulled like 5 cards in a row that's pretty much telling me to go fuck myself and wait. I'm like, all right, I get it, fine.
Yeah. It's like
so I think it comes with the way that, you know, a specific reader is in tune. I have friends that they're fantastic with the cards and they like know everything, and that's their trade. And I'm like, and so, you know what I mean? It's interesting how different minds sync, you know?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. Sorry. Do you use any other tools or other mediums? Do you use crystals, pendulums, candles? Like, what do you do to meditate to bring yourself and get grounded?
pendulum, I would say, is the strongest one that, especially earlier on when I was kind of coming into myself, where the yes and no's would meddle in at times. It's a really good cause for clarification. And so to ground, I have crystals. I have used them. I do a big, I'm big on light projection. So if I used a candle, it might agitate my asthma, but I have used lamps in a certain color. So if I really want to sit in a space, I use that light, and I tend to carefully go into it a little bit safer than a candle, because the fragrances bother me. But similar stuff, right? You're setting a projection in the self, and the light responds to you whether or not people really want to go there. The photons within your being really can attach. You can really sync up if you allow it to, and so they can really blend, and it really helps meditation. And I am a big practicer of meditation. The more that I do meditate in my day, the louder the volume. So it's that's where I was pulling myself through this training camp. I was 3 times a day, not always easy, right? To really hop into that space. But the more you quiet the mind, the more it has to show, right? So I like my salt lamp too. It really sets the vibe. It sets the aura, And then I keep, if I do events, I keep crystals, because I also think people seem to gravitate towards them, and they're oh, you know what I mean? Cool. And I always try to you, Chris, I'm people love free shit. They love it. You know what I mean? So I print out stickers and stuff. I have stickers made, or maybe something fun where I have done Pride, a big Pride event in Boston. It's huge. So I've done that. You give people free beads, you know what I mean? They're coming up because they want something to interact with, and it can kind of help that stand. They like to just come and take little knickknacks and stuff like that. So I always try to do something fun,
Yeah. No, whenever Jill and I usually do vendor markets, we always have at least 2 boxes for free for people. But they have to purchase something. But what we usually say to people is purchase something at first, and you get something free. That's what our little catch.
I get it, because then you don't want just people coming around and stuffing in and not actually interacting.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So a general, I guess, I don't know, idea for you. My daughter came up with this idea a few years back, because she does medieval fairs and stuff like that, and kind of the idea where you get something for free with purchase. They had put out need a trinket, leave a trinket, take a trinket, have a trinket. So they were just little treasured boxes, and people would they would come packed with their bags of trinkets, and they would kind of go around to every table, take a trinket, leave a trinket, trade out one, right? So that's kind of the idea behind it. Have you considered maybe something like that? I know you did the Pride event, but have you considered maybe seeing what people would be willing to leave behind? It doesn't need to be big or expensive or fancy. It could be a coin that they found on the street, and they're oh, I wonder if somebody else, put the coin in, or a button, something small and simple.
I guess not formally. So I have had that happen. I would say just naturally, especially at certain style events, especially around a live music event, and people come with these little trinket things, and then they're here you go, and so I leave them out. And then I had a vase where I had taken them out, and I put them out. So I have, I guess, not in the formal way. I like that idea though, because I think the interaction, being able to grab people in and really pull them in, and I like that idea. I think that's really fun, and see what people show up with.
Yeah, it's definitely a groundbreaker for sure. It can be a talking point. I know at the fairs that my daughter goes to, she'll go up to a table and she'll look at the trinket box, and she'll be I wonder where this came from, and that instantly sparks conversation. They'll explain where it came from, who had it, what the history about it is, whatever they had information on. She's oh, okay, well, I'll take that and I'll leave this behind, and this is the story of this. And so it kind of gets that conversation going. And I think in the world of the spiritual medium, sometimes that break is what some people need.
That's a really cool idea. Thank you for sharing that.
Now, going back though, is there anything though that you would like to share with our listeners, actually in story-wise, so that really impressed you on your journey?
The more you know yourself, the more gifts you receive. I think that people in this trade and in this industry, they want to know so much about the higher self, right? Or they want to know the spiritual advice, but you have to go through the soul. So my biggest part in teaching spiritual practices is always to start with the groundwork, level up to the soul. So that's even as simple as like, get your here and now focus, like start shifting to get a little organized so you're not distracted, and being able to ground, because when you have like things all over, it's really hard to focus on yourself. Then building the connection to soothe the soul, knowing that you're attending to your things, seeing the inner child, right? And really embodying these facets. When you do that, you can finally love who you are and what you're seeing, and renown your faith and interest in humanity, right? And all these uncertainties. And then go to the higher seat, you know what I mean? The knowledge, the clairvoyance. And it's like, I think that the coolest thing for me has been able to teach people to get back to themselves, to get to know themselves. And, you know, so the best way to do that is starting from the ground up. And then all of a sudden we can recognize that we're talking to ourselves in a new way. We're talking and embodying a new version of ourselves and progressing from there. And then, you know, this is where I have fallen deeply appreciative towards evidential mediumship, because the evidence is what brings people back and keeps people around. So I always say two things. I would rather be wrong than feeling like somebody felt like I tried to look up their family members. And I know that, you know, people could take to social media. People tried to maybe pull obituaries on the person. And I'm like, don't do that. Respect the space, you know, and really lean into the person and see what comes out. You'd rather be wrong than misinformed by something that you're trying to pull not naturally, right? And I would also rather people think that I was losing my mind than lying, right? You know, and respecting the process and not going too quickly, allowing yourself to stay and grow in it one stage at a time. Because, you know, when you start to unlock these doors and you're like, wow, I can do this, I think it can be easy to want to launch fast forward. And I listen, I don't remember whose podcast this was, but I remember listening to a woman's podcast, and she was a medium, and this was in my earlier stages. And she's like, if you're doing this, go slow. Do not rush yourself. And it was like the best advice I can possibly give somebody is like, go slow. Go about it with meaning. Go about it with intention, and set the speed that you were due to be set at. Like, you know what I mean? You're due to progress at a certain rate. Align with it. You know what I mean? Shut up the ego. You know what I mean? And really just stay humble with it and grow one phase at a time. Awesome. So those are the best things I can probably say.
And how can people reach out to you?
I have all my social medias under Kelsey Lynne Medium. I'm trying to be better about my YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and would love to launch into more live readings again. I was doing some live, but due to my surgeries, I backtracked on it. Yeah. And so you can also find my website, KelseyLynneMedium.com. So always the tagline, LYNNE too, Kelsey Lynne Medium. So I'll be around.
And that's how I found Kelsey. Actually, I just went through the Google, typed in certain areas, and typed in mediums, and that's how I reached out to Kelsey. And it's been a great pleasure listening to you and talking to you, and been both of us, though, like all three of us, we have grown so much actually together within this short time. Now, for just before we leave those, is there any peaceful words that you'd like to say to our listeners today?
Always think about yourself before you try to open other doors. Kind of voicing what I was saying before. Give yourself grace. Remember that you are still part human and you are still part soul, right? So allowing yourself to be okay with that. You might have days that you might not feel so great. You might have days where you make mistakes or don't feel so divine, and that is human.
Those are the best words how to live by. From Jillian and myself, we do like to say thank you very much to Kelsey for taking part in today's episode. And check us out constantly here at Podbean and reach out to Kelsey. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you both so much. It's been awesome to connect with you. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Chris. Really.
Yes. Yeah. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.